Hey guys, this is Savannah, earthandwater.co. Today we're going to talk about some ways to help anxiety, since last week we talked about causes of anxiety. And to really pinpoint how to help yourself with your anxiety, you really need to go figure out what the cause of your anxiety is first, because that's going to mean the difference in how to navigate it and how to manage it, right? So we really broke that down in last week's episode. So if you need to stop right there and go back and listen to that episode to self-diagnose your direction of anxiety, please go do that. And then if you're ready for over here and how to help management, so we'll start with not the easiest, but the most clear-cut way. If your anxiety is allergy-based, and you're not going to know unless you do an elimination diet or something like, so you can cut the things out of your diet and then slowly add them back and see if that makes any difference. That's really the only thing you can do with that, right? And it's terrible, it's horrible, no good, awful. But some clues to whether or not that's the type of anxiety you're dealing with really stems from, can you pinpoint why you are anxious? If you can't, and it feels like your body is just doing the thing without your permission, without your consent, without your anything, which, all anxiety is pretty much like that, but generally, if it's from overthinking or something like trauma-based, then you're going to be able to follow the anxiety path back to its core. But if it doesn't seem to have any sort of rhyme or reason, you cannot pinpoint it, you don't know why you feel the way you feel, you don't know why you're having a panic attack, it's just happening, then it may very well be toxin-based or allergy-based, which is going to mean cleaning up what you're putting into your body. And my sympathies are with you. Nobody wants to do that. Trust me, I know the extent of it, because that's where most of my anxiety comes from. Everything would be going hunky-dory, A-okay, nothing wrong here in my world, and then suddenly I feel like I can't breathe, I feel like I'm disassociating, I feel like I'm fixing to just dematerialize out of the physical realm, and I'm panicky about it, and it's because my anxiety is mostly, these days, caused by my soy allergy. So there's that, and then now we've gotten that one out of the way, and we can kind of focus on the other things that can help manage it. So if you've got your general anxiety, just your basic run-of-the-mill overthinking type of anxiety, that one's going to be the easiest to overcome, honestly. It's going to involve meditation, mindfulness meditation, and just being really present in the moment. When I talk about meditation, when everybody talks about meditation, they talk about silencing your mind, right? Which is laughable, right? Especially those of us who have overactive thought processes going on in there. The thought of silencing it is completely laughable. But what they fail to mention is that we're not actually trying to silence the mind. It's really an unworkable concept. It is something that will naturally happen later on, just as you develop your meditation practice. But when you're first starting out, instead of trying to actively silence the mind, what we're going to do is give the mind something to do, okay? It's like a puppy that has not been trained. It's bouncing around all over the place, peeing on things, chewing on stuff, and it's just running an absolute muck, right? That's how puppies are. They have to be trained. It takes patience to train them. It takes dedication. It takes consistency to train them. And what we're going to do is we're going to train our minds in the same way, more or less. So instead of just trying to hush, 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 sit down, be still, that doesn't work. You can't train a puppy that way. Instead, you're going to give it tasks to focus on. And this looks like bringing your consciousness, your awareness, into the present moment as fully as you possibly can. So we're going to check in with all of our senses. We're going to notice how we're feeling, physically, emotionally, mentally, all of the ways. And not necessarily you don't want to be like, well, I'm feeling bad. Well, that's not helpful, okay? That's not even getting us towards anything helpful. We don't want to judge it. We don't want to label it as good or bad. We just want to acknowledge its existence. We're aware of the feeling, and that's it. No judgment attached. So that's one thing we're going to do. And then we're going to start tapping into our senses. How does the air feel on your skin? How does the ground, what are you sitting on? What are you standing on? Can you feel the solidity of it? What are the colors and the textures of the things that you see around you, of your clothes, of your skin? Look at your hands. Notice all of the lines in them. Dissect and decipher all of the things that you're hearing. If you're listening to this, I've got a lot of sounds going on around me today that I don't normally have because I'm recording in my vehicle in town during a break that I have in between classes. So sorry if that's bothersome. But we're noticing all of our feelings, right? We're noticing all of the ways that we interact with our world. And I always tell my students, that they say you have 5 senses. You really have at least 7. But to find the other ones, you have to really be still, be present, and pay attention. They're very, very subtle, but it's that gut feeling. It's that feeling in your heart. It's that inner knowing, the intuition, the subtleties of the energy around you. We can pick up on so much more than our basic 5 senses allow for. It's just we're concrete individuals and gotta hear it, see it, feel it, taste it, touch it to really believe in it. But there are other things that we haven't quite grasped onto yet as a society, but we're getting there. So we're crowding out our thoughts with all of these other thoughts that we're consciously, purposefully, intentionally thinking about. And then we're going to add in some gratitude. You want to think about some things that you like. 3 is the magic number. 6 and 9 are even better if you're feeling like an overachiever, or if you feel like you need more to flip your mood around or quell the anxiety attack. Gratitude is a great way to do that. Just think about all the things that you're thankful for, all the things that you can appreciate. If you're having a hard time thinking of anything, I know sometimes I started out there. It was hard for me to find anything that I liked or that I could be thankful for. I was just like, no, everything's crap. Well, that's not really helpful, is it? So what can we be thankful for when we don't feel like there's anything that we can be thankful for? Well, we can be thankful that we can breathe in our lungs and through our nose right now, because we can't always breathe through our nose. Sometimes we can't. We're stuffy, and that's terrible. So if you can breathe through your nose right now, be thankful for that, because the alternative is not fun. Let's be thankful that we woke up today again. That's awesome. Every day above ground is a good day, right? Speaking of which, we're glad that the sun came out today. We're glad that it rains in places that need rain. We're happy that other people are happy. We're thankful that we can listen to this episode, right? Man, good ears. Good job, ears. Keep on hearing for us. And since we're listening to this on some sort of device, man, we're thankful we have a device to listen to it on. And internet, man, that's great. That's a great thing. So you just keep crowding out the extra thoughts that you don't want, because they're intrusive thoughts is what they are. They're intruding into your mind uninvited, unwelcomed, unwanted, and causing problems. And you want to just shoo them on out with other thoughts. Crowd them out, because you can only think about so many things at a time. So in addition to all of that, we're just going to find our patience to ride the wave of anxiety, okay? Just ride the panic attack to the end, because through it is the only way to get through it at all. You can stop it sometimes when it's overthinking based, but if it's allergy based or toxin based, you just kind of got to ride it out to the end. And that just means all of these things, but also being patient, being aware that this will be over in a little bit. We just kind of patiently got to wait. Like a roller coaster, I've never liked rides. I've never liked any of the rides, but I've also always had this complex to where I had to prove myself. And I was bullied really badly my whole life, so I was not ever going to give anybody another reason to bully me. So if these huge roller coaster flip you upside down types of things came up, jumping off of a 2-story platform, I did that, did lots of things. You just gotta close your eyes, hold on, and wait for it to be over. Same thing, same concept. Also, while we're doing all of this, grounding techniques. I could probably do an episode on just grounding techniques in and of themselves. There's lots of ways you can do it. My favorite thing is to just sync all of the energy from the upper half of our body to the lower half of our body, and that just means bringing awareness. Because, we keep all of our energy, all of our awareness up towards our head because that's where we're interacting with the world the most. And that can get really busy, buzzy. And so, overwhelm, stress, anxiety sets in real fast. And to counteract that, you want to take all of the energy from the top of the head and sink it down to the lower half of your body, where less is going on. And that just means bringing your awareness down to the lower half of your body, relaxing, like actively releasing and melting the muscles from the face down to the shoulders, down to the torso, down to the legs, melting into the ground, melting into your seat, melting into wherever you're sitting on that's supporting you. Some people like visualizations, so you can visualize a root growing from your spine down into the ground and securing yourself to it. You can also bend over, look at your feet, and mentally trace around your feet to help ground you. There's lots and lots of different ways that you can ground. None of them are wrong. All of them is just whatever works best for you. So moving on to the trauma-based anxiety, which is no doubt absolutely the hardest to work through because it takes a specialized approach, and there are so many different ways, so many different traumas, and so many different ways to go about healing them that you really just kind of got to start throwing noodles at the wall and see what sticks and see what works and see what helps you feel better, and just analyze as you tried this or that. Did that help? Did that make it worse? And you know what? Some of the processes out there are going to make it worse before it makes it better. For example, reworking the story in your head about it. So we all have these stories running through our heads. Our trauma that happened in the past is a story. And we're traumatized by these things because we have this story that replays over in our head, just over and over and over again, right? We relive it. And every time the story replays, we relive the situation with full emotions and everything. So it's like we're being re-traumatized over and over again. So one of the ways that we can work towards healing that is when we replay the story, we can change it. Your mind doesn't really care what's real, what's fake, okay? It'll believe anything you tell it, exactly how you tell it, as whatever. You can completely rework everything in your mind if that's what you want to do. It's called programming for a reason. Your conscious programming, your subconscious programming, and you can recode that programming however you like simply by deciding to do so. So when you retell these stories in your head, you can reword how you tell them, and you can make them a little bit gentler every time. And it can't really go from one extreme to the other. You kind of have to build your way to it. And in the beginning, it definitely might cause more problems as you begin to, for the first time, face it and really let yourself feel it. But then you can start reworking a little bit. You can just start deciding what details to change and trade out and redo so that you end up with a better story, okay? And you're like, and I understand, okay, you're like, but that's not how it happened. It happened like this right here. I can't tell myself that it happened differently. It didn't happen differently. And yeah, you're right, but it's the difference between clinging onto, holding onto, and allowing that story to become a part of you so much and so strongly that it completely engulfs your future and your present, and it has control over you. Or you can start finding ways to rework it that aren't necessarily, you can completely just like, what if instead of it unfolding like this, what if I had done that instead? What if I had done this instead? And then play it out in your mind where you did that. So it makes a different story. And then over time, you can just slowly rework it detail by detail until it gets a little bit better each time. So those are my tips and tricks for now. That's what I have. Let me know what you think. Let me know what helps you, what works for you, what doesn't. Just, tell me all the things, and join us in the Facebook group. If you want, I have energy consultations, and we can work things out and see, individually between me and you, how we can move forward and get you to where you want to be. But yeah, namaste. Relax your face and shoulders. Enjoy a few minutes of meditation practice to just exist. Turn the volume all the way up and just feel the music and let it wash over you and relax you. I love you. I'll see you next week.